Because at the end of the day, America is going to want a president who is a decent human being, who doesn't shit on other people, who has some interest in the American people, some interest in something beyond himself. I think at the end of the day, people are going to reject this bigoted, divisive figure.
I'm just giving you the answer to the question you're asking all night long. Why do they vote for Donald Trump? It's not always because they like him. No, it's because stuff like that is kookier to them.
Bill Maher didn't stay quiet when it came to Adam Schiff's latest comments, and things got tense fast. What started as a regular conversation quickly became heated. Maher jumped in with a firm response that got the whole room paying attention. It all began when Schiff confidently shared more of his strong views about Donald Trump. He criticized Trump's leadership and questioned his motivations, saying he believed Trump often puts himself first, a point he's made before. But this time, Schiff took it a step further. He strongly expressed that, in his opinion, Trump's past actions should disqualify him from returning to the presidency.
I think it's true justice. The only thing he cares about is himself and money. And going after the money is a way to bring about some real justice.
That's when the tension really kicked in. Schiff warned that if Trump returned to office, it could seriously harm democracy. His message was strong. Trump is a threat, and people shouldn't question that. While Schiff made his case, Maher sat quietly, clearly not convinced. When he finally spoke, it was direct and sharp, and it clearly caught Schiff off guard. The problem is, Schiff keeps repeating the same warnings without much proof. It feels more emotional than factual. And just when it seemed over, Schiff added a bold statement that may stick with him. Maher didn't let it pass. With calm confidence and humor, he pushed back. Schiff expected support, but Maher wasn't there to agree.
I don't share your pessimism about this or your pessimism about the general election. The reason why Joe Biden is going to beat Donald Trump is because at the end of the day, America is going to want a president who is a decent human being, who doesn't shit on other people, who has some interest in the American people, some interest in something beyond himself. I think at the end of the day, people are going to reject this bigoted, divisive figure.
Schiff kept going after Trump, throwing out one criticism after another, almost like he was trying to win just by talking louder. But nothing seemed to stick. Then came the moment that likely haunts him now. With full confidence, Schiff predicted that Joe Biden would easily win the next election. But fast forward to today, and Donald Trump is back in the White House. That bold claim didn't age well. What sounded confident back then now feels like a major mistake, especially since it was all caught on camera. As Schiff kept talking, the tension in the room grew. Bill Maher looked frustrated, trying not to react. But before he could say anything, Stephen A. Smith jumped in. Stephen didn't hold back. He called out Schiff and his political allies for years of trying to take Trump down through media coverage and non-stop investigations. And in the end, as Stephen bluntly pointed out, it still didn't work.
And I'm just getting tired of seeing so much stuff targeted in his direction, but somehow, some way he still survives. I mean, we're talking about a situation where he's still going to be the GOP nominee. He's still going to be running for president. You're President Biden. That's the individual that you're going to have to beat. 4 indictments, 91 counts. They ain't even bringing up the bankruptcies, ain't even bringing up this particular issue with this civil case, and somehow, some way, he puts cats to shame because he clearly has more than 9 lives. I mean, come on.
This wasn't just a discussion. It felt more like a reality check. Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back. He directly called out Schiff and his political allies. For years of dramatic messaging and one-sided attacks, it was the kind of moment where Schiff probably wished the cameras weren't rolling. For a long time, they've brought up old stories, made over-the-top comparisons, and blamed Trump for almost everything. But despite all that, Trump is not only still around, he's gaining support. He's weathered controversies, turned criticism to his advantage, and kept building momentum. Like him or not, one thing is clear. Trump remains a major force in politics. After listening to Schiff's long speech, Bill Maher had enough. He dropped the polite tone and spoke plainly. Maher said, what many people may be thinking, Democrats aren't connecting with everyday Americans. Instead of offering real solutions, they just keep expressing outrage. And that, Maher believes, is exactly why Trump keeps gaining ground.
Atlantic put out an article last year, and it was called Separating Sports by Sex Doesn't Make Sense.
Right.
And talked about how we separate sports like the WNBA and the just because it's just socialization. This is insane.
I agree.
Okay. That's why people vote for Trump. Mm-hmm. Because there's stuff like that on the left that people just go, I know Trump's horrible, but separating by sports by sex makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. And if you think it doesn't, you can't leave the country.
While Democrats focus on lectures, Trump is out there speaking directly to everyday people. And in that, Bill Maher said, is why so many voters stick with him. Maher didn't hold back. He made it clear the left isn't losing because of Trump's lies. They're losing because they've stopped listening to regular Americans. One moment Maher highlighted stood out. The Democrats' push to remove biological lines in sports. They supported letting men and women compete directly, without much debate. But for many Americans, that didn't just seem confusing. It felt like common sense was being ignored. Instead of opening up discussion, Democratic leaders pushed harder. They labeled all criticism as hateful and dismissed real concerns. Maher called it what it is. Going too far, he said this kind of extreme approach doesn't unite. It drives people away. Maher summed it up. When voters feel their only options are extreme ideas, or someone who sounds real and grounded, they'll choose the one who feels more in touch. And right now, for many, that's Trump. But then came a surprise. Adam Schiff said something that caught everyone off guard, and it sounded a lot like he just threw President Biden under the bus.
I take the opposite view. I don't think he should have given the pardons at all.
Really?
No, I don't think he should have, and I was vocal about that at the time.
Can you refuse a pardon?
That's less clear because in the case of the January 6th committee, he pardoned essentially the whole committee.
While trying to move past the January 6th controversy, Adam Schiff, a key figure in the committee that investigated it, made a comment that caught attention. It sounded like he was quietly distancing himself from President Biden's leadership. Schiff and others on that panel had full political backing while they spent months pointing fingers and calling for accountability. But now, the timing of his comment felt strange. The message seemed clear. Schiff may be shifting focus, and Biden could be left taking the blame. Then, things got even more confusing. If the January 6th committee truly believed their case was strong, if the evidence really spoke for itself, why did President Biden feel the need to issue pardons ahead of time? That one decision raised more doubts than answers.
So the FBI came in and arrested the judge. No, I haven't heard that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I've ever read arrested a judge. So is this significant?
Well, I think
I'm not going to comment on something I don't know more about than what you've just told me.
You read about it too?
Yeah, I mean, I read about it, but I don't know.
So you don't trust anything either, and you work for the New York Times.
Well,
Schiff's now downplaying the pardon, acting like it wasn't a big deal, just Biden being cautious. He never directly blames the president, but it feels like he's hinting that Biden acted out of fear. And just like that, Schiff seems to be backing away from the same leader who had his back when things got tough. It's a familiar move in Washington. Take the help, then pretend you didn't need it. But people noticed. And the White House probably isn't thrilled with Schiff's sudden change of tone. Bill Maher didn't let it slide. He quickly called out Schiff and took aim at the media, saying they've stopped reporting and started picking sides. Even New York Times columnist Bret Stephens admitted he's not sure he trusts his own paper anymore, a sign of how far public trust has fallen.
Catholic schools are popular now, even with people who aren't Catholic, because it's the last place you can send your kid to get an old school education. And they just tell the kids, forget about the Jesus stuff. Just, to them, that's okay indoctrination, as opposed to some of the other indoctrination that goes on. And also, the Catholics don't put up with bullshit. They take your phone. You have to learn your P's and Q's and your grammar and all this kind of stuff. And that's what I just don't understand, that parents don't have the whip hand anymore. Not that you should actually use a whip.
When insiders start warning us, you know something's wrong. That's why Trump's support keeps growing. Many people don't trust traditional news anymore and want something real and honest. Trusted news outlets now often follow political agendas instead of holding leaders accountable. Journalism feels more like political theater with clear bias. Every time the media shows bias, it gives people more reasons to stop trusting them. Many believe the truth isn't in headlines. You have to look harder. This didn't happen overnight. Political leaders embraced extreme changes, swapping common sense for slogans. parents, especially dads, are often shown as clueless or ignored in TV shows. This isn't just entertainment, it sends a message. Many see that the values that once united us are now replaced by scripted lines and slogans, making what was once real feel fake.
I respect the fact that you don't share my pessimism. I truly do. I understand where you're coming from. But I think that's part of the problem. I think the Democratic Party should share my pessimism. I think they should be on high alert. I think they need to treat him with the seriousness that it deserves, because you having a lot of faith in the American people. The man did get over 74 million votes. You've got people that are looking at Joe Biden. I'm not going to call him a cognitive mess or anything like that. That's very disrespectful. I would never speak about our president that way. But when you're 82 years of age, it's not offensive to say you're no longer a spring chicken and you don't seem to have.
You know the scene: the clueless dad, the stressed mom, and the sarcastic teen cracking jokes. Chakit. First, it was just comedy, but over time, it sent a message. Respect got old-fashioned, rules became optional, and discipline looked like oppression. The strong family idea got replaced by slogans and trends. Now, we see the fallout. This confused many voters and hurt the Democrats. The 2024 election wasn't sudden. It was years in the making. Democrats said Biden was ready, but they ignored real concerns. When reality hit, the party started to fall apart. Kamala Harris tried to help, but her approval dropped and things got worse. The party looked lost with no clear plan. Their base felt ignored. Even Bill Maher and Stephen A. Smith said people are tired of false promises and blame games. Trump's rise shows how fed up the country is with spin. Truth doesn't stay hidden. And now, even some on the left are questioning what they believed. That's it for today. If you liked this, hit like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.